don't really need to say where I am, do I? But, oh well, anyway, welcome to Gigantica Summer 2023. So this is the third time that I've visited Gigantica. First time in 2018, second in 2020, and this one is a rather delayed trip, one reason or another, but finally got here, 2023. Obviously we had the draw earlier today, and I pulled the last ball out of the hat, and it was number 2, which really surprised me. I actually thought it was 12 again, but no, it was 2. And after we'd done a walk round with Joe, the new bailiff, they were really stacked up in where I am right now. And it was one of those it's one of those you sort of like, do you go in there and knowing when you put some leads in, they're all just gonna scatter to the far corners of the lake, or, you know, go off the sides or something like that. This swim wasn't chosen, the first one. So basically, I just thought, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'll go for Bob's Beach. So that's where I am. Not fished here before. And I fancied somewhere different. Obviously, I had the whole choice of the lake. I fished in Stink and I fished in Big Girls, and I fancied somewhere different. And so with all the fish here, I thought that's a good shout. With the wind directions, predominantly going to be pushing to this side of the lake for the entirety of the week. And with the temperatures as it is, because it's late May coming into June, the fish are obviously going to be popping up to the surface as they do, Gigantica style, for most of the day. And you can fish one zig rod. I thought that's got to be worth a shout. So scribbled my name onto the old map on the wall, and here we are.
So this bite here was stupidly fast. You can see my middle rod still there on the alarm. I'd cast that out first. That was one of my bottom bait rods. Fished 20 odd rat spot, typical for Bob's Beach. And I was basically hanging around because there was a lot of fish in the area, but they're pushed out slightly. So when we'd done the walk around, the fish were probably around the 30 to 60 yard sort of range. And you know, it was black. There was a lot of fish, 100 plus fish, easy. And so I just took my time, get the BB set up and whatnot. And eventually, I just thought, right, I need to get a zig out there because they're all on top. And I just basically sort of launched it out there, probably 80, something like that, around the 80, 90 yard mark, and then just as you know. Just before it hit the surface, I just clamped hold of the spool, let the zig drift past the lead, and I could see the PVA nugget just hit the surface beyond the lead, and I just let it sort of drop a little bit, and then started winding down, and probably set it around 50 yards out. And I placed it on the indicator. I felt the lead hit the bottom and it was all nice and tight. And I just clicked the indicator onto the line right next to the alarm. And I just walked up to the bivvy, I think, just to go and get some bits for my other rod, my third and final rod, which was going to be on the bottom. And turn around, and the indicator was on the gravel. And I was a bit, head scratching. Quickly run to the rod, picked it up, struck, and yep, obviously I was into my first fish within probably a few seconds. Nice way to start the session. Now, because the bite was so quick, literally a few seconds, unfortunately the PVA didn't melt around the lead, so you can see I'm having a right song and dance trying to get this fish into the net. Somehow I managed it, I don't know, but the PVA hadn't melted and the lead was still around the lead clip, so I couldn't obviously bring in enough line. So I'm fishing 20 foot length zig, and normally you can get the lead clip through the guides of the eyes, but with the lead still on, it was not possible. But I managed somehow, I don't know how, but somehow managed to net this fish in the end.
Well, been on the lake 5 minutes. There's a lot of fish out in front of me. I overcast by about 80-90 yards and then wound into about a 40-yard mark where the fish are sort of cruising around. I'm basically sort of floater fishing with zigs basically, and I set the zig at 20 foot and literally had a drop back straight away within a couple of minutes. The PVA hadn't even melted, so I had some fun with the lead. But this is the prize. A nice 28-pound Gigantica mirror carp. That's a nice way to start, isn't it? What a lovely fish. Oh, yes, happy days. Thank you. All right, like that. One of Corder's summer breakfast yogurts. Fruits, granola, all that honey, usually in the bottom. Yum, yum. Slumming it in Bob's Beach. Alright, Sunday lunchtime, and this fish fancied to have its lunch. Another one on the zig, red and black, the old TA zig aligners on a Corder size 6 barbless mixer, 11-pound zig line, 20 foot, fishing in about 22 foot. I put it out last night. The zig's been out there since I got here basically, so, and this one absolutely tore off, and got bug, out you go. And thankfully no dramas with any lead or anything this time, and a nice lovely, if you can see it, chunky mirror. Isn't it lovely, eh? Absolutely over the moon to have a second on day 2. 24 hours in, something like that, I guess, getting close to. Nothing on the deck yet. Fish were bouncing around all over the lake this morning. Absolutely bonkers. Quite a few shows on me baited spot on that, but not a bleep. But thankfully I've had a zig sitting there just waiting for them to drift back in where they were yesterday afternoon, and thankfully I started seeing a few little black groups, shapes out there, probably 80 to 100. And obviously been drifting in because this zig's probably 40-50 yards out. So let's quickly turn around. Show you the other side. Lovely chunky, I'm guessing a female mirror, about ready to burst. Don't think it'll be long now. It's end of May. I'd have thought within a week. Oh, and there you go. Our scores on the doors, if you're into that, is 29.6. One chunky Gigantica mirror. Happy days. Monday just before tea when we have to pop into the lodge, and got another one just shy of 29. It's the 5th one now, so I've had 3 up 20s and 2 doubles, 2 recent stockies, all on the red and black zigs. And there we go, another one of the Gigantica future fish. Lovely chunky solid mirror, isn't it? Oh. Yes. Hey, happy days, eh? I'm just sort of watching them sort of lunchtime onwards. They're sort of cruising around on the surface, going around in a sort of loop around the lake. Had a little pod come round in front of me midday, and I had a little one, and then they've just come round again. It's about 3:30 Monday afternoon, and there was a scattering of them, probably 30-40 fish, and this one just couldn't resist. Ka-chay. Hopefully that will continue, and maybe I'll get lucky and snag one of the jewels of the lake. Just loving my time. Lovely times. Thank you, my beauty. All right. fish number 6. 6 on the zigs as well. This was just before first light. Just wait for the bailiff Joe to come round and help with the picks. So, the biggest of my trips so far. A bit of a mare as it took out one of me bottom bait rods, but I basically just flick the bail arm open and let the fish take both lines so I could net him. And lovely 35-pound Gigantica carp. Lovely fish. They're all starting to get dark as well now, these. Unfortunately I lost one as well recently. Let me flick me round. Caught my other line very quickly, and it just charged off, and ping just came off, unfortunately. So it's at the moment it's 6 for 7, but a few more of the lads have caught on the lake now, so I think there might be 8 out of the 12 anglers have caught, something like that. Biggest so far of the week's for 47, I think. Absolutely stunning fish. Well done, Dan, over in Alamo. Oh, but yeah, I'll say these. They were here last night. I was hearing them popping around and that, sticking their heads out. Just I can't fathom why I can't pick one up on the bottom. But if I can have one of the zigs at night and the day as well, then that's what it will be. It'll be a week of floater fishing basically. They're all cruising around on top, and I'm catching them on a zig probably 1-2 feet underneath the surface. So even when it's dark at night, thinking anglers, black and red foam barrel with the red kicker. Size 6 quarter mixer hook, and 11-pound quarter zig line. I'm using a 4-ounce quarter choddy lead, just PVA taped to the actual lead clip. So, and I think I'll get him back. Wow, there we go. This is fish number 7. Tuesday afternoon, seems to be the afternoon that bite time for me. And its first common, weighing in at 31.5 pounds. I'm just fishing the zig rod now. Just I don't have any hassles or worries now with the bottom bait rods, they're just out of the way. So it's just one rod fishing at the moment. Oh yeah, first common, happy days. I'll show you the other side. Lovely dark common, isn't it? Oh, I am definitely happy with you. Looks like an old, right old fish. I wonder if it's one of the old original ones. He looks quite dark. Oh. I think this is the better side. It's got a nice little cluster of scales in the middle of its back. Nice character to it. And there we go, folks. 31.5 pound. Ah, common. Okay, so I thought I would just cover the zig setup that I've been using here for my session this week. It's changed slightly since I first came to Gigantica in 2018. I was zigging in the stink. So the main components are still the same, but there's a couple of slight differences. So obviously we start the business end, which is the quarter mixer barbless in a size 6. I like the shape, the wide gape on that, and it's quite a small short shank hook. Quite a lot of people use the wide gape hook, but which is a slightly thicker, longer shank. But I prefer the mixer myself. Then you've actually got the Zig line itself in 11 pounds. I think this suits, with that slight green tinge to it, I think this lake's perfect. So I haven't changed those. Then I've got the anti-tangle sleeves. I actually would prefer if these would be a slightly longer, maybe about another inch. I don't know if anyone from Cora's watching, but yeah, maybe some anti-tangle Zig sleeves with an extra inch would be good. But like I say, that's basically from the Cora stable. And then from the Thinking Anglers, I don't have any packets or anything. I normally keep all my little bits and pieces in boxes. I'm using their sort of, I think kickers, is it kickers or aligners? I'm using the red one. That's what I've been using this week. And check when you're threading a line on. Sometimes I find that they're split at the top. So just pull the line and just make sure it's not split and it's not popping out of the actual plastic. But I found a couple that have actually been, I think they're split in the packet, unfortunately. And as you can tell, I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is just my choice, and you choose what you want to choose. I'm just sort of trying to highlight what I've been using on this session. And then I'm using the red and black. I've got the red underneath and the black on top, basically. And I'm using the old sort of foam zig tool from Fox. So I'm just sort of popping that on like that, and then just pulling it through like that until it sits on nice. And then 20 foot, 19 to 20 foot depth is what I've been fishing, and I've caught 7 out of 8. I've lost one because it took me around one of the other lines, in around 23, 24 foot of water. But obviously your depth will vary depending on the time of year, your swim, etc. The fish are even higher in the water or lower. I'm finding at the moment the fish are really high, but I'm liking it just to be a bit below them, and then they go down on it. So as the fish are going down onto the bit of black foam, they're then mouthing the hook. They're not seeing the hook. I don't really want it up high in front of their noses at say 23 foot in 24 foot, and then they can see that hook, or they go towards the black foam and then nudging the line, and so you're not getting that take. I want them to go down and suck it in, and then, you know, that hook sets then. That's the theory, that's what I have in picture in my head. So yeah, I just thought I'd take you through. That's basically my zig setup. And then what I do basically to tie it, I've got 2 bank sticks, and I just do basically just over 1.5 rod lengths. That's the 20 foot, nice and simple. And then going to the lead setup, if we switch to the lead now, I've just got it dangling by the bivvy. I use a 4.5 ounce Cora choddy lead. I think that profiles nicely with just the ring. You don't want to swivel or anything, giving, you know, potential for increased risk of tangle. So you don't want a swivel lead, you want a ring lead, nice and smooth. The weight, it will depend on how far you're casting, where you're casting, but you want quite heavy lead really to try and set the hook. So that's why I'm using a 4.5 ounce Cora. And then I'm using the Fox lead clips with a size 8 QC swivel clip, so you can just loop the end of the zig rig onto it and just push the sleeve over the top of that. And then, as you can see here, I've got some PVA tape. I'm PVA taping, so I'm licking the lead clip first of all, taping it around, wrapping it around really nice and tight, and then just licking it all again, sealing it, ready for casting. And then obviously that will melt over a couple of minutes, and the lead's easy to fall off. And I quite like the Fox lead clips because it has quite a smooth tapered tail to it for the lead to fall off. Some have a bit of a loop at the bottom, like a D, and obviously the lead doesn't fall off those quite so easy, and sometimes you're playing a fish and the lead's still sat on, so that's why I quite like the Fox ones. There's also the MCF ones my friends use, which has got a metal pin, so the lead falls off quite nicely on that, but it doesn't have a hook, QC swivel sort of set up on that. It just has a loop that you have to tie on the rig material, and I don't really like tying on, you know, if the knot doesn't go well and you've got to cut it off, retie another one, you know, and damage the line, you've got to tie it again, and suddenly you're losing the length of your zig. I've already tied up the hook and that and done my loop, so it's just, I prefer the QC clip, just hook on the loop, slide the sleeve over the top, job done, cast it out. The other thing I do is PVA nugget, so I put a PVA nugget over the hook and the tail, and I use that as a sighter. So it depends if you're clipping up or if you're not, then or what I've been doing is casting long over where I've been seeing fish, and then obviously grabbing hold of the spool, making sure that I can see the PVA nugget kick out at the back of where the leads hit the surface, and then I'm winding down, so I'm not letting it drop and hit the bottom, which is handy here. It's 20 odd foot, so you've got that depth to do it, winding in about 20 yards and then letting the lead drop, knowing that rig should be nice and clean and tangle free. And I think I've had one tangle out of all the casts over the last 5-6 days. It's Thursday now, but then I've had some big old strong wind blowing into me, so I'm quite surprised I've only had the one tangle. So yeah, that's my zig setup for this session. Let's pop a coffee. Well, it's decaf, I know, still. Look at that. This lovely vista. Well, it's come to that time of the trip, basically, Friday evening, last throw of the dice, as it were. So if I sort of just reflect on the session, obviously my third trip out here and the third swim that I've fished, so more knowledge gained about the lake. I really enjoyed it, I have to say. All the anglers who are on the lake this week, the bailiffs, the food, the banter, and that, it's been really good. Some of the fish seen on the bank are absolutely crackers. And for my own fishing, obviously started well right at the start. From Saturday to Tuesday, obviously caught regular, managed to land 7 out of 8 bites on the zigs, basically up to mid-30s. No giant ones, unfortunately. I still got the last night and morning, but none at the moment. So that was really good, and really pleased that I had something going there. And they kept visiting the same area, roughly the same time in the afternoons. I had a couple of bites in the early hours, but basically all around the sort of 50 to 70 yard mark. I'm in Bob's Beach, and I was picking them all up, casting towards the Alamo. Well, I had a couple of rods on the bottom, fished towards the stink, basically. And then I had a couple of occurrences on the bottom bait, on the actual bait, on the Wednesday and Thursday morning, but unfortunately lost both of those. One was on a Ronnie and one was on a hinge. Just these things happen, unfortunately. The hook's pulled on both of them. It's barbless, and I guess probably they're quite sharp hooks and could easily just nick, you know, edge of the mouth, and they go off on a run, and it just dinks out. These things happen. Nothing this morning on the baited area, and I'd fished all 3 rods on the bottom, but most of the fish are cruising around on top, majority day and night. Margin spots have done a few bites, tree line, big girls, stock pond, Baxter's in the corner. They've all done bites off the bottom in the margins. The only one what's done any bites out in open water this week is pole position. That's done, I think, 6 or 7 up to 56, so that's good. A couple of 40s, and then this afternoon I've picked up another one on the Zig, only a small recent stocky, little common, but basically the fish weren't coming in as close as they were at the start of the week, and they were hanging out long, so I had my Zig out, but I wound it in and just sort of launched it out there basically into the zone. There was a lot of fish out there. I knew I'd probably spook some, but we're talking probably a couple of 100 fish, so if you're going to spook, you know, 10, 20, and there's still 180 in the zone, then, you know, you've got a chance. I think it's probably even more than that, if I'm honest. I think the majority of the lake were probably sat out there, and I can see them on you know, stepping back on the high road. I can see them all out there. It was just black. And I've got some drone footage in that, so I can stick that up, and you can just see from this footage, it's just a lot of carp out there, some big fish as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll be back in a couple of years' time. Obviously it's fully booked next year, so I won't be able to get over it next year. So hopefully I can get on the blower when the phone lines open. I think in October for 2025, and maybe I'll be able to get a spot, hopefully with my wife as well. So yeah, it's been like I say, great session, and until the next time, basically. Thanks for watching again.